Hey everybody, it's me, Liv. So today I'm just going to be working on an art journal page. I'm going to be using some of the new Lindy Gang powders that I received. This is the new magical shakers, and I'm trying to see if I can get these to focus, but I'm just going to list them below because I can't really. Combining that with the Jolie Mixed Media August kit and the two pastes that we're using. So first I'm just going to go ahead and sprinkle this on. I am using the craft paper as my cardstock, and I'm going to actually blow it around a little because I found that it wasn't moving as much as I'd like. And since this isn't not necessarily a stronger watercolor based one, I find that sometimes they don't, they warp a lot. So I was trying not to super soak this page that much. Now I did go ahead and blast it with my heat gun just to try to dry it off a little bit, so I can go ahead and put some other colors on there. Now I'm going to go back with just a little bit more pink because I feel like it didn't really come out. When I used the yellowish color, it was way too light to be used against this background, so I didn't really see it pop out as much as I'd like to. So nor did the white come out nearly as much as I would like to, but I figured it gave it just a little subtle hint, and that's okay for this particular project. Again, use that heat gun, get that all dried out, and kind of move that around as I need to. So now my page is all dry, and one of the things I really love about mica powders that you see is that it does give a nice bright shimmery color to it. So when you're using it, now I'm going to come in and bring in some of the distress ink pads. I am using that yellow that I really wanted to come out but wasn't bright enough, so that way I figured this would be a good way of bringing that into this piece. Then I want to go ahead and move on to using a little bit of the bolder colors that the Lindy Gangs makes because I felt like it really just wasn't popping enough. Then I'm actually leaving it there because I'm going to kind of stamp with my stencil here. So what you see is just me getting it all wet, and then I can just go ahead and use that as a mechanism of just kind of blotting this color around. You'll see a slight bit of these circles pop out. It's not a huge effect, but when it dries, just gives that added texture that I like. You don't necessarily need texture to be thick. Sometimes texture just can be differences in the material. Now here's the part of the video where I made a big oops, in that I paused my video for a sec and forgot to turn it back on before I did all of this other work. But basically I'll go over what I did. I went ahead and took my Versa Clear ink, took those various stamps and stamped all over it in various points. The next thing I did is actually take from my chipboard and I painted it, since it was a regular wood chipboard, with the black color glaze that comes in this month's Jolie Mixed Media Kit. Now I'm going to be going over the stencil and just doing it at various points throughout the project and adding some of these circles to create even more dimension throughout. Then finally, I'm going to go ahead and figure out what sentiment I want to have popped up. I'm going to be using this one. I want it to match a little bit more with this piece, so that's why I decided to go ahead and put some Distress Oxide, and then I'll just kind of wipe it off, giving it more of that distress look to it in particular. Now that I'm happy with that, I'm going to go ahead and just glue it down because I don't really need foam tape since it's already a pretty thick piece. And then I still felt it was a little bit bland in color, so that's when I decided to, as usual, take out my splatters and do some splattering. I am going to be splattering with white all throughout the project. I see I made a mistake here as well in terms of I got too big of a blotch from my splattering, but I figured I'm going to go ahead and kind of wear this off a little bit with my napkin, and since it was actually my washcloth, but since it wasn't working exactly, that is one of the great things about mixed media. You can kind of cover it up with something else. So felt it was a good point to go ahead and put a little bit more of those dots in there. And then I'm going to balance it out by putting just a tad bit more dots along the sides here as well. Now don't forget that each month there is a new kit. Jolie sells 3 different types of kits: a mixed media one, a scrapbook one, and a card making one. I am usually designing with the mixed media, though every once in a while you'll see me design with one of the other kids, especially if it catches my eye. Now I'm just going to go ahead and ink the edges. I usually like to ink the edges of my projects. I just feel like it finishes it more than just leaving it as is. But I think that's just your own personal preference on how you like things to look. So I'm pretty happy with how this looks, and this is the final project. I hope you guys enjoyed this piece and love all the different texture. Thanks for watching.